Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Jewel. I just thought I'd come on today and share with you what I'm doing. It being the end of the year, here, let me just focus this a little bit. I'm trying to use up my scraps before I get into a brand new year. I just feel like I need to purge a little bit. And I just want to get rid of some of these scraps because I have a couple of huge boxes. Let me show you this one. I don't know if you guys can. This whole box, let's see, you see that? These are full of scraps, end cuts to projects I've done, things in here that even, I just didn't like the way they died, but I can use them. I can use them up. What? This shouldn't even be in here. This is an original advertisement from a early 1900 magazine. So I'm going to take that out because sometimes I scan these and use them. So I have these scraps. I've pulled out some sacks that I save, the Walmart sack. This is from the Walgreens pharmacy. This one's ripped, but I'll use it because I'll cut it off. And here's a long sack. I pulled out, let me see, some ephemera, just different die cuts, and there's a few die cuts and some ephemera in here. I have another envelope here of it. I pulled out some old music sheets, some book paper, or some vintage and even antique book pages, and some envelopes and things like that, because what I've been working on is collaging and making use in a pretty cool way of all of these scraps. And oh, I forgot to tell you, also I have all of the scraps of fabric and trims and laces and different things that were they're just scraps. I've got 2 of these big plastic things full. So I keep those near me in case I want to throw in a little lace or fabric scraps or whatnot. I started out by covering these sacks. I had a bunch of these white Walgreens sacks, and I wanted to cover up the Walgreens, but I wanted to use them because, you know, what do? This is junk journaling. So what I did is I took one of them, I took apart. There's a seam here, see that? And I took the thing apart so that it laid flat and I could take it to the machine and sewed. So I sewed some, but most of them I didn't. And I'm going to show you this one. This one just has basically just scraps, some old music paper, and this is like a Franken-page, see? I made like a Franken-page, and this is a little Mrs. Coggs image that I had in there. And there's one side, and here's the other side. Now what I will do is one of these, this will probably go in folded and sewn into one of my signatures coming up in one of my new books. So I'll trim off the bottom, and I'll do it with a pair of like pinking shears. So the top will look the same, you know, the bottom will look the same as the top. So I can also, you know, you can add trim to these after and everything, but you can see I used a lot of different bits and pieces of paper on here. So there's that one. Here, let me find another sack. Here's a sack that I didn't bother taking apart. And what I did here is, you see there's a lot, there's even tissue on here, and I used a lot of my lighter weight papers as opposed to some of the cardstocks that are a little heavier, so it would bend, you know, better. Oh, one more thing I wanted to tell you. I coated these with, I went over the top of these. Did I? Wait, did I? Nope, not yet. I'm going to put this gel matte medium on them, because then you can go, if you write on them, once I do that, you can write on them like this too. Or you can not write on them, you know, whatever you gotta do whatever you want, you know, when they're in your book. But I'm gonna coat some of them with this. So this one what I did is I drew stitch so it looks like there's little stitches. I drew it in because, you know, I couldn't sew it. I would have sewn the sack together. So I did it here too. So there are some pieces of the heavier cardstock, but I did the smaller pieces. Most of this is paper that I've hand dyed or coffee dyed, and, you know, ledger paper and coffee dyed paper. And then I did these images, you know, I printed them off on regular copy paper. So there's 2 sacks that I did. Then I had this big white sack, and I thought, well, I'll just cut it apart and do the same thing. Well, I cut it apart and it's crooked. So I said, it'll just be Franken paper. So I can come back. See, this one I sewed all around. See, this is all sewn around each piece, you know. But I can come back now if I want to and either put some more on this side, or this can just go right in the journal. Just like this. I can tip it in or I can sew it in, and I'll probably put gesso on this side so you can write on it. Or I might make a pocket in there. I don't know. I'll do something with it. I like the colors. Here's another one. That's the other side of that bag. So I did a lot of different shapes and sizes. Okay, so those are that. Then I came in and got one more sack. This is a big sack. This was one of these. Now this I didn't take apart, but I did sew it around the edges when I was finished, and I'm going to make some kind of trim on the bottom here, because I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make I'm going to stuff this. This will be probably in my Etsy, it'll be a stuffed sack in my Etsy shop. So this side I had started, you know, gosh, there's a lot of different papers on here. This is a lot of collaging here, papers. I started to draw the stitching on it, and I did not do this side yet. Okay, so you can see I've got a lot of, this is a book page that I stamped on, and sometimes I'll come back and I'll do stamps. I'll get, you know, like there's a lot of flowers on here, so I'll probably go and get a couple of my flower stamps, or maybe do a little stenciling or something to jazz it up a bit. So that's just a big old sack. I mean, it could be sewn in maybe, but I don't think that's what I'm going to do with this one. And then I have made some envelopes. So this is a big envelope. It's got a flat top, and this one I started adding a little bit of the, oops, I forgot. Sorry about that. Got my iPad over here dinging. So let me just mute that. All right. So I have there's a piece of grungy fabric. There's a piece of cheesecloth over here. So there's a lot of textures. And if you can see all the different textures. And then flip it over. I did the back as well. I just did a little distressing here. This is an old illustration out of a 1950s Reader Digest book. different papers. Got a little cheesecloth here. Just wrapped some of the image or the papers right around. Okay, so there's one envelope. Here's another one. This is another big envelope. I'm not sure. I might tuck these in something, or I might stuff them with a ephemera and put them in my shop, or I might fold them and tip them into a book, or just tip them in this way if I have a good book. Just tip them in. So here's some fabric, some lace, some a crocheted doily there. So there's book page, there's music paper. This is really old paper, music paper. Here's this side. There's a little Mrs. Coggs image that I did on cheesecloth, and some lace that wrapped around, some old vintage graph paper. And then I just added I made this little tag. Excuse me, guys. My allergies are really acting up right now. Hope I can make it through this video. And then I have, you know, a little bit of a dyed silk there, and there's a die cut there, and anyways, so I just wanted to pop on here and show you. I've got a lot of, whoop, one more. Here's one more. Show you that one real quick. Now what you can do, you can also make the papers, the collage papers, and make them into an envelope if you want to do that. So my plans are to make some more of these today with all of this stuff, and I'll pop on later to show you. But I'm also going to make, let me see if I got some of my, I'm almost out of my embellished paper clips, and I use a lot of scraps on those. This is just one simple one that I did, because what I'm trying to do is I'm not trying to get into any of my new fresh laces or anything like that. I want to use up this as much as I can on some collaging projects. I'm going to do some little booklets and some, I've got a bunch of stuff in my brain, and I'll come back and share with you. And these actually take some time to do. You know, to match up all your pages, and you're sitting there and you're fiddling. But I find great enjoyment in that. So what I do is I usually put YouTube on, and then use up some of this ephemera that I've got it all cut out, and I just need to use some up, and I've been sending some out, and because I've got a lot of journals that I want to make this year. So I know I need to use up some of this before I have no more room. So anyways, guys, I just thought I'd check in with you and let you know what I'm doing. And maybe you can get a couple of ideas what to do with your sacks and your envelopes. Maybe Christmas envelopes from Christmas cards that you're saving and you want to use up. And your scraps and your laces and trims. And make stuff. Okay, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.